Would you like to learn how to select and use stones that are best for you? Want to know how to connect with those and what benefit they'll have if you do? Then stay tuned on this episode of Psychic Perspectives, and we're going to talk about that shortly. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Psychic Perspectives. I am Carol, my lovely co-host, Sarah, and we are going to be actually answering a viewer Q&A, which was about how to select and use stones and what benefit they have. And so that prompted us to do a quick video today on that very topic. This is really more your area than it is mine, although I certainly have some input that I want to put here. So where would you like to start? I think a good question is, why even use crystals or stones?
So I think the biggest thing to understand about working with stones is that you are connecting directly to earth energy, which is healing energy. And there are many different properties to each crystal and stone. And so each one is going to have its own benefit depending on you. So a lot of it is going to be extremely individualistic. What are you drawn to? What do you feel like you need? What do you need in life, kind of thing.
So the point then is basically healing and kind of transformation. I've also heard people, talk about using crystals and stones for kind of helping to open intuition. I know that you talk about using them for clearing your space. So it's really just bringing in those properties for shifting and transformation, right?
Right. Very multifaceted as far as what they can do and how we can use them.
Right.
So it will depend on, I guess, what are you looking for as far as maybe needing assistance. But I think the best thing is that they tend to actually find you. It's like they will come to you as you need them a lot of times. So, just like when you go out to the river or something and you find a rock, like that could be significant for that rock will have just as much healing power as the one that you go maybe buy at your metaphysical shop or your rock and gem show. Yeah. So it's just about, like I said, what are you drawn to? What is drawn to you? And how we can connect with it is purely based on intention, in my opinion. I can pick up this, rose quartz that I have here, and I love these types of palm stones. And I can sit there and say, oh, I don't feel anything. It's just a rock. But if you sit there and you actually think about it, and then, what kind of feelings do I get? Am I shifting already? Is it, heavy? Is it light? Whatever it might be, that's how you start. But what it does, what people should understand is that it is all very intentional based. And when we think about like quantum physics, for example, everything in our universe is based off of energy. Everything is energy.
I agree with you. And that kind of puts us into this state of, well, how does it work? And that's because everything is energy, everything is information, right? And so packed in that stone, whether you found it or whether you bought it, are the properties, the energy, and how that feels to you. But you're right, also, it's very individualistic. So I could hold the same stone that you're going to hold, and it's going to have a very different feel. So I think that makes it difficult for me to say, well, you need this stone and this stone and this stone, don't you?
I think intuitively we can pick up for others.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Definitely.
Yes.
Oh, I think you need this, or I think you need that, especially if you are already kind of, in tune with what specific stones can do. But like I said, a lot of times things just come to you. So for example, I've been gifted lots of things. And then when I go to read the meaning of it, or I look up, maybe the properties of it, I realize how pertinent it is to me right now. And then I needed that. That was something that, spirit just kind of handed over, and it found me. That's why I say sometimes it's not as important to go looking for stones as it is to just be open to something and say, hey, you know what, I'm open to this idea now, and watch what happens. See if somebody doesn't gift you something.
That's a great suggestion, kind of just putting that intention out to what stones are good for me.
Yes.
Very true. That makes sense. But if someone does go to a store, for example, because there's a lot of people now that are selling stones and crystals, and if you go to a store, you can kind of do the same thing, right? Where it's like, I'm really drawn to this. It's attractive, or there's just something about this that really is drawing me, because that's kind of the same thing, correct?
It's exactly the same thing. So I personally love rock and gem shows,
Mm-hmm.
and or metaphysical shops where you go and you can actually, pick the stone.
Right.
Um, to me, it's exactly what you said. It's like, what are you drawn to? What
Right.
says, bring me home?
Right. Right.
Those are the ones that you want to pick. And it doesn't matter, it's not about size. Like this little piece of shungite, for example, could pack
Correct.
a huge punch, just as much as a bigger piece could.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more about the quality of it, which, you do want to be careful, I guess, about the quality of stones that you're picking. Definitely choose. My personal favorite is rock and gem shows, but just somebody that that is trusted, that is actually getting quality stuff, because there are people trying to sell knockoffs, and
Meaning
once you
that the
get,
gems, meaning that the stones are not real. I mean, when you say
yeah,
knockoff, oh, really? Okay.
yeah, there's lots of fakes out there.
Okay.
Um, So
Great
yeah, I mean,
suggestion. Great
you do want
suggestion.
to
Yeah.
be mindful, I guess, of,
Mm-hmm.
who you're purchasing from.
Mm-hmm.
And, like once you've seen something that's real, the next time you might see a knockoff, you might notice it, because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know what? It doesn't pack that punch that the real stuff really does. So learn how to be, I guess, maybe more touchy-feely with them, and just kind of absorbing any energies that you can feel, um, and using your intuition is number one on how to pick them, because I
Right.
think sometimes we pick them when we don't even know why you picked it.
Well,
You might.
and I remember back in the beginning, even though I consider myself obviously intuitive, it's like I just don't sense anything out of stones. It's just not something that I normally resonate with. Same thing. People go, well, do you communicate with animals? And I'm like, no, not at all. And I'm a huge animal lover. So I'm not saying that we can't tap into it, but I'm saying don't be turned off if you're not feeling anything right in the beginning. Just kind of still let your eye kind of take you to where you're feeling drawn.
You might
And
not
just,
notice. You might
yeah,
not notice very much. You might only notice, I don't know, maybe nothing. But the idea is that
right.
if you're drawn to it, like maybe you're drawn to it because you like how it looks,
Right.
but
That's
still
what I
you
was saying. Kind of just let the appearance, just let yourself kind of feel guided, like, oh, I don't know why. This just is really catching my eye. And so I think I'll take this home.
yes.
Um, so that is in a way just kind of allowing yourself to be guided. But some people definitely do, like you said, intuitively feel or sense the energy in stones. I have a lot of people say, wow, this, if you put it in your hand, is a great way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
say, so what do you feel in your body? Do you feel heat? Do you feel tingling? Does it make you feel positive? Does it kind of give you maybe an uncomfortable feeling?
Right.
So, try to connect with it at that level. If you've got some ability of kind of tapping into yourself intuitively as far as what you're picking up when you holding that particular object.
Right. Right. So Moldavite is a good example of that. This is a chunk of Moldavite that I got that's actually on
I
like
love
a
Moldavite. Yeah, I
necklace.
have a piece of that as well. Yes.
Yeah. And it's one of those stones that to me it takes some getting used to. Some people don't like it right away because it has such a crazy, um, I don't know, just like powerful energy about it. It's an accelerator. So it can be used like in like enhancing other things. Like if I pair it with rose quartz, it's going to accelerate the rose quartz,
Mm.
which the rose quartz is very like calming, soothing, good for the heart chakra, good for healing, um, stuff like that. Whereas something like obsidian is very grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my advice is to pick something that's very grounding, which you can look up which stones are more grounding and then which ones are more high vibrational, like plain crystal quartz or rose quartz and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like it is
Mm-hmm.
high vibrational. And then when you pair it with something that's grounding, like let's say shungite or black tourmaline or something like that, it creates this pair of I'm grounded and I'm raising my vibration. And this is like a double whammy when it comes to protection, or whatever it is that you're using it for.
So let me ask you this then. So let's say you've picked those two stones and you've used them for pairing, one for grounding and one for opening up, right? And being intuitively and spiritually connected. But now the next question becomes, what do you do with that? Are you carrying those? Are you sitting down and meditating with them? So how do you apply it? Because even though those qualities are there, we have to take those and we have to do something with it. So how would you do that?
Right. So for example, let's say you're drawn to this necklace. Okay. So you can wear that as like a protective talisman along with some kind of bracelet.
So you can keep it on your person. You can keep it on yourself.
On your person. Something that's like this. It's like this is actually like an arrowhead, but it's made of obsidian, and you can keep it in your pocket if you want.
Right.
You know, I love these palm stones. They're my favorite. I have a couple of different ones, like this fluorite.
I do as well. And you can actually get them in even smaller versions than that, kind of like the size of a penny or a nickel or a quarter. Yeah.
Right. So these ones I love to just hold in my hand and meditate with. Especially if I feel like I'm having some sort of stress or anxiety, and I really need like a good woosah moment. I'll put one in each hand and meditate, or just relax with them. Sometimes I've brought them with me to the store, just almost like a security blanket or something. To me, it's like they are, but you can draw on them for their energies when you need them most. So that depends entirely on you and how you want to carry it around, or how you want to integrate it into your life. Right. I love, bracelets. I'm actually not wearing any right now, but bracelets are a great way of just kind of keeping it on you. Right. Rings, stuff like that. Right. That's why I like the rock and gem shows too, because they have so much variety. And usually they have really high quality stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. It's a good place to go and they're reliable. Right.
And it's affordable. Right. It's affordable. But if you do have like a, an already go-to site or something like that, again, I would just use your intuition as to what are you drawn to naturally. And then when you start to learn more about it, because I'm going to say right now, learning about stones and their properties and all the different ways that they can help you, you could literally make that its own career in itself.
Right. There's so much to it. That's why I think you either have an affinity for an interest in stones and that's going to resonate with you, or not. And that's okay, because everybody has different modalities.
But to me, I like to integrate it. I don't want to be an expert, but I do like to integrate it. My brother gave me this book. It's called The Book of Stones.
I have that one as well. Yeah.
And it's by Robert Simmons.
I love it. Yes.
And I think it's Naisha, I think is how you say her name. But I love this book because it has so many different things. It's all alphabetized. And it has
wonderful pictures in it. Yeah. It is a pricey book, but it's
dual authors. So it has like a couple different perspectives.
Right.
And it also talks about like the different kinds of stones that you can pair it with. So if you, look up rose quartz, for example, it will say, this stone is best paired with, this and this and this. The other things that I like to use are like these pendants. It's like, this is an orgone mixed with copper, and it has a combination of like tiger's eye, obsidian, and quartz crystal, and something else. I think it's pyrite. But anyway, it's because of the combination of it that and the orgone too, that's a whole different thing. But this is like so it's multifaceted. Just
it's kind of like making a salad dressing, right? I mean, you're putting all of these different ingredients in there and you're mixing them together, and the next thing you know, you have this new something, because all of those properties have blended together. So absolutely right. I mean, that's just what chemistry is.
Yeah.
But and for people that don't want to wear it, for example, I'm not someone to necessarily wear it. I definitely like having them because I'm attracted to them. I think they're attractive more than actually I don't work with them per se. but you can set them up in your office or around your space, right? Sometimes bedside. I've had people say you can put them underneath your pillow, underneath your mattress if you want to do it that way. So you can kind of during the evening absorb them that way. And then to remember that intuition or psychic information is all based on intention. You don't even have to have it in your hand for you to connect with it. If you're having kind of a difficult moment.
Actually, that's true. You don't technically have to have it.
Right.
I think it does help. And I think it does make a difference.
It's a focal point. It does help. I completely agree. Yeah.
Also, I would just quickly mention like the shape of stones have a lot to do with how they project their energy. And I learned this from our good friend Kate, she also has her own class that you can take for rocks and gems and all the different stuff.
I'll put Kate's information down in the show resources. Yeah.
You totally should. So I haven't even finished that class, but I've already learned so much. And like one of the things was the shape. So I have a couple of points and clusters and stuff like that. And when you place them in your room, it kind of shoots the energy out in different ways. And so so different ones have different, I guess, energies based also off of their shapes. And that's just something
great extra point as well. Right. Yeah. But it's the same as kind of just tapping in with, we talked about this in another video where, you just want to, let's say, for example, connect with the energy of an elephant. You don't have to run out and find an elephant to connect with the energy of an elephant. You can simply think about, what does an elephant represent to you? Likewise, if I want to connect with the energy of a rose quartz, because I don't have one handy, but I feel like I want to kind of connect with whatever it is that rose quartz brings to me, we can just think about that. We can think about holding one. So it's still, you're still connecting.
Right. And we just talked about in our last episode about guides and being handed things. And one of the things that I was talking about was being handed the celestite from the angelic person.
Right.
And in this book, it talks about how this is directly corresponding with angelic communication and guidance and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I literally can't wait to get my hands on some, but just by looking at the picture and seeing it in the meditation, I do feel like I have a sense of what it's going to be like, right? Or I have a sense of that energy already.
You can still connect with that without physically having it. But I agree, it's nice sometimes to have it.
Some.
Oh no, I get it. Yeah. Right. No, I totally get it. But I don't want people to feel like, well, I can't connect with that energy if I don't have one, or I can't afford that right now, right? Because let's say some of them are really nice, and some of the better clear quartzes, and some of those are just, they can be a little more on the pricey side.
Right. And I would spend thousands of dollars if I could, but
well, and that's the whole point though. Don't feel discouraged. Now, we talked about books, and I love the Book of Stones that you showed. And I was also going to show another one. He was the same, one of the co-authors for the Book of Stones. He did the second one by himself. And this one actually covers some of, like, the Moldavite is right here on the cover, right?
Oh yeah.
So he has some of the more esoteric ones in this one. And then here's another cute one that I got. It's called the Crystal Bible. She covers a lot in there as well. And these have some really beautiful color pictures. So, sometimes you get a book and it's like, oh, those are black and white, but this is all color pictures as well. Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. And I'll have this in the show resources for you as well. But let's talk about the book meanings, because honestly, while I think that they can be helpful, I think that they can also be inaccurate. So how do you feel about that?
I think that's relative. It's relative. So to me, if you Google rose quartz, you're going to come up with 10 different relative meanings. I think the most important thing is to find the ones that are pertinent to you and how do you feel using the stone. So if rose quartz says, oh, well, it's going to enhance your love life, and you don't see any enhancement in your love life, don't throw away the stone because it didn't, enhance your love life or something like that. Because it does have other qualities that maybe you're not picking up on yet. Or again, you're gonna see like a common denominator of different people saying the same thing. Right. So we know rose quartz is calming. We know that it's based off the heart chakra. We know that It's a high vibrational stone, extremely high vibrational.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the main points that keep getting repeated over and over again. I think I would stick with those as far as,
Right.
okay, these are the properties that correlate with
Mm-hmm.
rose quartz.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes with anything. So like this is a bloodstone that I got. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about it when I got it. But just look it up. And the more you look up, the more you learn, the more you use it, the more you understand which one of those, definitions fits best. I would take everything with sort of a grain of salt at first. But once you find a source that's trusted, like I trust this book, like
Right.
it may be, some of the things are a little bit more, I guess, esoteric as far as their definitions are concerned, but some of it is also just very based on properties. So it's a little bit of science and it's a little bit of woo.
Well, that's the thing. It's interpretive. They've interpreted what they feel that it means, not to say that they're wrong, but you might
Right.
have a slightly different inclination of what it represents for you because your body chemistry will react. That's that salad dressing again, right? So it's like if you mix your energy with the energy of that particular stone, you may feel some of the qualities that the books describe, but you might feel something that they don't describe. So
Right.
that's the point I think I was trying to make with the question. And you bring up a good point. Use the book, but it's very individualistic. And you need to connect with that as well and say, how does it feel for me? Because
Right.
if it's giving you a bad feeling or an uncomfortable feeling, then it could be trying to bring some healing to the surface. So you might want to stick with that for a little bit. So just because it's bringing up bad stuff,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
might be a good thing.
It's true for me about Moldavite. I will say that in the beginning, and they even say that it is a transformational stone. It was very potent. I'll just say that. And I had to use it sparingly at first to kind of get used to the energy
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and sister like don't even like it. So I think it's kind of funny, but that's just an example of
Right.
something that has that kind of effect, or that you
Exactly.
might notice, you might feel it. I don't
Right.
know.
So I think it's important to do both. As you said, you can take a look at the books, find some of the common ground, but ultimately, if this is something that you seriously want to do, you really should ask us, what does this make me feel? If
Right.
you pick it up and you just start bawling, that may be what you needed, and that may be what that stone brought forward for you. Maybe that was healing and purging and cleansing, and so allow that to happen. See where it goes, pick it up a week later and work with it, right? Work with that
Right.
same stone on multiple occasions to see how you respond to it. And I would also encourage people to feel it in their bodies, right? You get any
Yeah.
visualizations that come with it? Does it have any sensation when you're holding it? So again, use all of your senses to kind of connect with it and say, what's it making me feel? And if not, then just start with the book and you can kind of grow and expand from there. Yeah, very true.
Definitely.
So if I went to the store and you said, kind of let my eyes be drawn to things, and I think that's the great advice, but would you suggest just some maybe good 5 or 6 basic stones that you feel that everybody should kind of have in their starter collection? So you've mentioned rose quartz. I know that that's always been one that's been
Yeah.
suggested to me as well, is to have that.
Definitely. If I'm going to recommend anything, it'd be the stuff that I already have, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess to start off with, rose quartz is number one,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my favorites, really. I love this, this bloodstone is also one of my favorites because it's so grounding. Um, this rainbow fluorite is another one because it's super high vibrational and very cleansing of the aura. It can be used in multifaceted ways, but it's very potent. And then I would also suggest things like the black obsidian. It's very protective as well as used in psychic protection. And it's
As
also
is tiger's eye. I know a lot of people tiger's eye for the same type of thing. Mm-hmm.
tiger's eye is also one of my favorites. I love it. It's healing and protective.
Mm-hmm.
Moldavite is good because it's, like I said, it's an accelerator. I've used this to clear homes, like paired with crystal quartz and stuff like that. Um, crystal, just plain crystal quartz is also just one that's
Right.
used for many, many
That
different
one's a
things.
really common one as well,
It's
right?
right.
Yeah.
It's common and it's powerful no matter what.
Mhm.
So it can be used in different ways. Black tourmaline is also a very protective one. It's very protective and grounding. I like to pair it with things that are higher vibrational, like the rose quartz, for example. And so typically that's how I do it,
Mhm.
is I take something that's very grounding and protective, and then I pair it with something that's higher vibrational and healing or something like that.
Right. And too, there's people that have, there's a, I mean, I worked with stones throughout when I was in the psychic community. Even though I didn't connect with them, I've been with a lot of people who do use them. And some people have said, pick something that's associated with each of the chakras, right? So think about what is, if you're standing at the store, for example, and say, I really want to make sure my crown chakra is open. Ask
Right.
that question while you're standing there and see which one you're drawn to. If you've got your stone book, you can kind of look it up and say, oh, I can see how this will help my crown. And then work through each of your chakras so that you're picking the 6 stones that will resonate. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, those heavier ones, right? Those denser ones, like the obsidian, for example, you'll feel that more so down in your lower chakras. So what are you drawn to? It might be something really
Right.
obscure. So you have to kind of work
I
out through
was
that on your
also
own.
gifted this thing is like a
Mhm.
rainbow. So it has like a bunch of different
Mhm.
ones in it. And at the bottom is amethyst,
Mhm.
which is kind of like representation of the chakras. So you can find things that
You
are
can get them. You can
like
get pillars
necklaces,
that have the chakras in
right?
them, right? Yes. Mhm.
And they also have these really cool, you'll see combinations of different crystals paired with different things, and they will say sometimes on the package like what it does,
Mhm.
so that you can say, oh, that's the one I want. I
Mhm.
want, the grounding, high
Mhm.
vibrational love kind,
Right. Right.
whatever.
It was just a suggestion for people to kind of say, what does my chakra need? What does this chakra need?
Yes,
It's
and
just another way to kind of go
they
through your
are
own
chakra
system.
related,
Right.
right? They
Mhm.
are chakra related. And like what I was reading about the fluorite is that that's kind of what it does too, is it's supposed to clear all
Mhm.
of them. You'll find different ones have different specific heart chakra, or like you said, your root chakra.
Right.
So that is all relevant. They're all related in
And
that
not
way.
to say that this stone only works for that chakra, so to speak. It was just a way to kind of be in the store and say, well, I don't really know what I need. Because when I say, well, I want psychic protection, okay, then what are you attracted to? Or you might say, I just want to start opening intuitively. Then what are those? Because those group of stones will be very different. So as you talked about in the
I did
beginning,
it total opposite, where it's like,
you
what
let
am I
it you let it choose you. Yeah.
what am I drawn to? Ooh, I really like this
Right.
little feeling. And then I pick it up and I'm like, so what is it? And then I start asking questions about it. What is it? What is it related to?
You could
What
do it either
chakra?
way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, that says, oh, I was really drawn to it.
Mhm.
So I must need help with my heart chakra, or I must need help with psychic
Mhm.
protection, or I
Mhm.
must need help with this because I was super drawn to it.
Mhm.
And then it to me in that way.
Mhm.
So that way it's more, to me it just seems less complicated, because otherwise I'm sitting there looking up stuff for maybe my root chakra, and then maybe I won't find it.
Well, no, what
So
I was talking about was, I agree. Yeah, let yourself be led to it. But I was
yeah,
talking about your intention, which you talked about in the beginning. What
right.
intention do you have for
Yes.
it? Because
Yes.
if my intention is to go in to get stones for grounding, I'm going to probably be drawn to things. Whereas different, if I go in and have an intention to, I want one for each chakra, or I want one to use for only opening a specific area, or I want to heal from a bad relationship. So that was kind of my point, is to say, have an intention when you walk in. If you want to, yes, you can leave it open and let the universe give it to you, but you can also do it in the reverse by setting an intention and
Yes.
then being drawn to that cluster or that one that will perhaps be beneficial to you. And then you can go look it up. So, yeah, I certainly wasn't saying sit there and look each one up. But if you're drawn to one and you want to find out, definitely, I used to take my stone book, my little one, And a lot of the places, if you're going to a metaphysical store, will actually even have charts there where they'll give you
Yeah,
some of the
it'll
basics of
have
what they
some,
mean.
uh-huh,
So you'll have something kind of as a resource if you're there. So
yes.
you're right. I'm not saying sit there and make it complicated, but your question can shift what you're attracted to, is kind
Right.
of what I was
And I
getting
think
at there.
depending on what you're attracted to, that could be a telltale sign of what you need. Is
Absolutely. And so it can work either way, either one of
right.
those modalities. So it's just kind of throwing those out as an option.
Yeah.
Another quick thing too, this we were talking about, you can hold it. I do know that people sometimes do healing and energy work. They will use stones in their work as well. And you can actually put different stones on the chakra point. So if you're laying down, right,
Yes.
you can set stones on your chakras. I've had people
Right.
put stones underneath the bed or around the beds. If you have a bed, they kind of set up a grid, so to speak,
Right.
and they pull in all of those energies. So this, like you said, can really become its own modality and be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be.
Right. So I actually did a couple healing grids a little while back just to kind of
Mm-hmm,
see how they worked, see
mm-hmm,
how I liked it, because I had really never done it before. So, but I did it basically only off of intuition,
mm-hmm.
um, and how I felt they needed to be lined up,
Get guide. That's the
and
whole point. You get
yeah,
guided to where they need to go.
right,
Absolutely. That's very much true.
yeah.
I had
So
a
what?
lovely woman do, she did shaman work, and she brought in a lot of stones. She had other earth elements. It was amazing. It was just amazing, the experience.
Yeah.
And I had enormous reduction in pain for days afterwards. Now it came back because I was, that's a whole nother topic, but, but it had an enormous impact. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
The last thing I would bring up about stones is they take on our properties, right? So do we need to take care of them? Do they need to be stored a certain way? Do they need to be cleansed? And if so, how? So what are your recommendations and suggestions for that part?
Okay. Yeah. So definitely, you need to figure out, I guess, because some of them you can't wash. They need to be cleared and cleansed, depending on how much you use them.
Mm-hmm.
Or unless it's like, you have them in your house, definitely, periodically, dust them off and clean them and whatever. But if you're using them as like palm stones or, for meditation and stuff, I would say regularly, to cleanse them. You can use the ones that can't go in the water, like fluorite is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Selenite, I believe, is, you don't want to get them wet, so you
Mm-hmm.
can't run them underwater. But what I do for the ones that you can run underwater, I just, I hold them under the water and I, intend on cleansing them.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you do it for as long as you feel like you need to. And it kind of just, you just imagine whatever energies that were taken from you, that were absorbed, are now being washed away. But for the ones that can't, you can throw them in a bowl of salt,
Mm-hmm.
and that will take away the negative energies. Oh, there was one,
Lots of people do the moon and sun cleansings as well.
the moon
So,
and the sun. Yes,
mhm,
you can leave them out, in both,
mhm,
either or. I like the sunshine, for certain things, and moonlight for the other things.
mhm,
It kind of depends on the stone, I think. And some stones, like I believe selenite, I think it was selenite, you can actually use that to cleanse other stones.
mhm, mhm.
So it just depends on what you're using, how often you use them, but they should be cleaned or cleansed, energetically at some point. You don't want it to just get clogged up with a bunch of stuff, and you might notice that it won't work as well or something like
And
that.
another suggestion too is to do that when you purchase your stone, because you don't
Oh yeah.
know who else it's been around.
The
Even if
exposure
you're
to other energies. Yeah.
exposure to other energies or so on and so forth. I've had people say, do that same thing with your card decks if you like using, intuitive decks or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just
You
kind
get
of
your
setting
deck
it kind of like
cleared.
doing a reset on everything, putting it
Yeah.
back to ground zero. Again, I
Yeah.
think a lot of that's intention based, and whatever process that you want to use in order to do that. I've had some people even mention about taking their stones out to like an actual river, I mean, and literally, rinsing them in river water. When I was in Washington, that was easy to go find a river and do that. It's not so easy where I'm at here. But there are certainly options for doing those kinds of things.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially if you've worked with it and you've had a particularly healing session, like let's say for again, you picked up that rose quartz and you had all of this emotion that came out and you were crying and you connected with it, just go back and then kind of remove that energy, not only from your own aura and your own self, but then go ahead and cleanse that stone as well. So that next time that you work with it, you're back to kind of those reset properties again. Yeah. Again, it's as complicated as you want it to be. So this was just kind of a basic primer today. We weren't going to get into all of the technicalities of it, but we hope this answered some of the viewer Q&A. And if not, they can certainly get back with us and we can touch things a little bit more in depth. So anything else that you had about it?
No, I think that was it.
And I do think that people would probably also really enjoy, if you like this, our divination. We had a 2-part series on talking about divination tools, and honestly, stones did come up, and there's a lot of very similar ways that you can use stones for, kind of, I hate to use the word telling fortunes, but kind of perceiving into information and using it. So check out the divination tools, part 1 and 2, and you might find that there'll be some interesting information there as well. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.